Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal, living with pain and finding your joy. Today's guest is someone I found really fascinating. His work and everything he's truly done to change the wellness and our well-being. He was born during the Second World War. He's a pioneer in the health and wellness space. Having sold a phenomenal number of books on this subject and appearing at many speaking events and media interviews, he'll be telling us about his own journey and why he believes everything we have been told resolves from inside to solve our problem. Let me give you a little bit about my guest. My guest is Udo Erasmus. He is the co-founder of the Udo's Choice line of healthy products. He designed the machinery for making oils and with health in mind, with a pioneer FLAX OIL, $1 billion industry. Pesticide poisoned him in 1980, leaving Udo's doctor at a loss regarding treatment. So guess what? He decided to take matters into his own hands. Udo's research and discoveries led him to a passion for finding the answers to life's big question. He's an acclaimed speaker and author of many books, including the best-selling Facts That Heals, Facts That Kill. He teaches at events hosted by Tony Robinson and Deepak Chopra. He's given presentation, interviews, training in over 30 countries and has impacted more than 25 million lives. Udo has an extensive education in biochemistry, genetic, biology, nutrition, and psychology. Meet my amazing guest, Udo, as he shares his story. Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself, Anne Welsh, living with pain, finding your joy. Our conversation today is all about health issues. Have you thought about challenges, things that you might be going through and not quite sure how to deal with it? My guest today will be sharing you his own story. He's such an inspirational person, and I'm just so excited that we've got the honor to speak to him. Udo will be telling us about his own life journey. His life journey didn't just start into being so successful in the discovery of medicine. He's done many things, and I'm so excited. I don't even want to get into it, because if you look into my introduction, you will see about his life, what he's done, what he's achieved. But I'm so glad to have you here. How are you?
Hi, I'm glad to be on.
I can't believe that, looking at you, and I saw how old you are in your bio, and I'm thinking, am I sure I've got the right person here? Because you really look.
Yeah, I sent a younger substitute.
I'm sure I've got the right person. You really do look 20 years younger, so I'm absolutely delighted, and I would love you
Yeah.
to share your stories and what you've done. Now, before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about who are you?
Well, I'm a work in progress, and I'm still trying to figure out who I am, because what we are is very deep. Because if we go inward into what we are, there's a lot there that we don't pay attention to. Inspiration and purpose, they're already built into us. Life energy, which is unconditional love for the body, built into us. We don't pay attention to it. We look out there for stuff. And then in behind that is an awareness, out of which, that probably peace would be the best designation for the awareness. And it's the ability to notice, and it has no content, because we're not talking about what we notice. We're talking about the ability to notice, which is called awareness, which is out of which the entire universe came and out of which we came. That's within us. So we have all-encompassing peace, unconditional love, and inspiration sitting inside of us, mostly undiscovered. waiting for us to stop being stupid and trying to find out there what we were born with in here.
That is so true. We're always looking outwards. And
Yeah,
I'm really fascinated to hear that you're saying that most of what we're looking for outside is already in us.
we
How
already
do
have
we,
it. Yeah,
how do we bring it out though? How do we know we
yeah.
have?
Well, the first thing you have to do, suggest that it's there, and at least be open to the possibility that that might be true. But then you go back to how you were when you were in your mother's womb. There was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. It was really boring, and you weren't bored. What you were actually in, you were in, I say, a deep meditation. And I call the boom the Buddha tank, because we spent 9 months in deep meditation before we entered the world. And we weren't making the body. The body was being made. That was all being done by life.
Yes.
And our awareness, our focus was at rest inside, in its source,
Mm.
in the core of our being, because there was no place to go. There was nothing to do. Why would your awareness go out when there's nothing to go out for? And so we came into the world like little Buddhas, like little Jesuses, like, because life is the master. That unconditional love that Buddha and Christ and Krishna and all those guys talked about, that unconditional love is what your life, the energy that you are, so it's actually solar energy that becomes life energy, that is Christ energy.
Unbelievable.
Unconditional love for your body, and all powerful in your body, all knowing in your body, and everywhere present in your body. It runs the show.
Unbelievable.
Right? The internal show is run by life, and you are that life
Within yourself.
in a human body rather than a body that's alive.
That is unbelievable. I've never thought about it that way. When you think about it, when you look at your childhood, because you said life starts from our inside when we were in our mother's womb. When you think about your childhood, can you just tell me a little bit, what was it like growing up as a child?
I was in a war. I was a refugee. And the communists were chasing us in tanks and trucks because we were in Poland. I was born in Poland. The Allies, who were supposed to be the good guys, were using the refugees as target practice. And these were all mothers with young children on horse-drawn hay wagons on dirt roads, no military presence. And the Allies were shooting us from planes. And so we were in between, so in my view, war on either side is stupid. We don't come here to get involved in wars. We come here to appreciate the incredible gift that we've been given of being alive in a human form for a time. And that should be a full-time occupation. The enjoyment of it.
To enjoy this beautiful world, but unfortunately, during your time, you were born during this war.
Yeah.
What was some of the pain when you remember it? Because you see what's going on currently in the world today.
Yeah.
Current war going on in the world, and not just in the places we know about, but other parts of the world.
Yeah.
What was some of the pain you faced during that time growing up as a child?
I more anxiety, confusion. Didn't know what I could rely on because everything was all over the place, and we got different instructions every day. And how being hungry. Yeah, so more like that. I didn't get hit by any bullets, so I didn't have that kind of pain. I got whacked by people, right? So most of my pain came from other people, right?
Don't you think majority of our pain tend to come from other people?
Yeah.
If you think about the world today.
And when I was 6 years old, I listened to people, adults, argue, and it made me really uneasy. So I felt uneasy, so so uncomfortable with it. And the thought occurred to me, there must be a way that people can live in harmony, and I'm going to find out how. And that's been my driver all my life.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on being an instrument for that peace. In so much like this process of your childhood pain of having
Yeah.
people arguing, having this noise of the war, and
Yeah.
having people whack you on sense, almost
Yeah.
got that realization that more could be done on this planet. More can we could be more useful in this world, rather than being that in that impossible environment. We could be an instrument for peace, I presume.
For sure. For sure. And being born in a war,
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it now, it wasn't a gift then, but it's a gift now because I got shown very early how crazy it gets when we don't cultivate peace and don't cultivate the unconditional love within us when we have the luxury to do that. And so because I started from ground zero, I basically had to not create it, but discover it from scratch. Because the people who created the wars, those are not exactly the people that I want to be my teachers.
No, absolutely not.
The people who think it's okay to destroy the environment, those are not exactly the people I want to be my teachers. But how about life itself? And how about that awareness? And how about that inspiration? Yeah. Saying, well, here you are, you feel you're cared for, so you don't have to always be saying, how can I get myself cared for? Because you already are cared for if you just stop and pay attention.
Absolutely.
And then it changes. It's like, okay, it's not about me anymore. I'm okay. I'm cared for. Okay. How can I help? What needs to be done? How can I make the biggest splash for good that I can make in the time that I have in human form on Earth?
In the time that I have in human form on Earth.
Yeah, because this is a temporary situation, right?
Yes, indeed.
And here, this is like this human body.
Yes.
It's made out of dust and water and oxygen and sunlight. And when they get put together in this way, I get to have the whole human experience. But when they separate, when that ends, when the body ends, the water goes back to the water and the air goes back to the air and the dust goes back to the dust and the solar energy goes wherever solar energy goes. And they're not as interesting separately as they are when they're all combined into this. That's why this is such an incredible gift, to be able to have the human experience. And that includes pain, and that includes joy, and that includes everything.
I'm so glad you said that because sometimes we lose that concept of who we are on this earth.
Yeah.
We lose what is our purpose? Why are we here? But when you realize that we're just here in that human form for the time being, you try and absorb all the joy you could get rather than focus so much on the negative. Because when you look at the world,
but not just absorb the joy, also shine the joy. Because the joy is already there and the love is already there and the peace is already there. When I'm in touch with that, then I see it on the outside too. That energy, that solar energy that is unconditional love is in every grass, in every tree, in every shrub, in every animal, in every human being. And when we live from that unconditional love, what exactly kind of problems are we going to create? Yeah. Well, none, because it's like I'm love surrounded by love. Where's the conflict?
Yes, true.
Right?
Udo, I have to ask you, you've now focused not just on this being of the human form, you've also focused a lot on wellness. Yeah. This is something you've just taken to another level. And anyone looking at yourself, honestly, you can see this has really helped you because you were 20 years much younger. What events in your life led you to start that focus on the wellness bit?
Well, let's see. I got married. We had 3 children. My marriage broke up and I wanted to kill something because I was really upset. And I took a job as a pesticide sprayer. And I was really careless spraying pesticides. And after 3 years of being careless on a job spraying pesticides, I got poisoned by the pesticides I sprayed. Okay. People might, what you sow, you reap, karma, predictable outcome. And I went to the doctor and said, what do you have for pesticide poisoning? And she said, nothing. And that was the day when the penny dropped. Oh, my health is my responsibility. And it's not like I didn't know that. And it's not like we don't know that. But sometimes, you something happens and it's like, oh my God, it really is my responsibility. And so I got interested in self-responsible healthcare
No, but can you
because,
describe what was the poison? What did you have? What allergy? Did you have anything? The
yeah,
pesticide.
I had nausea, dizziness, cramps.
Hmm.
My energy was under the floor. I was 38 years old. I always had a lot of energy. My energy was completely gone. If I walked around a city block, I'd have to sit down and rest like an 80-year-old man. And I know I'm 80 and I don't need to do that anymore. And then it felt like if I turned my head, it felt like my head turned, but my brain didn't. Obviously, that's not true because your brain turns when your head turns, but that's what it felt like. So it was really strange. But the biggest issue was my energy was gone because pesticides kill creatures by two ways. They interfere with energy production or they poison the nervous system, which also then interferes with energy flow. And so I got poisoned by that. Then it was like, okay, well, the medical profession has nothing. I have a background in science, biological science and biochemistry and genetics. And I decided to use my science background to look into the journals, the research journals, about health and nutrition and disease and nutrition.
Okay.
And out of that got stuck on oils because oils were so confusing and so contradictory. Like there was one thing where a study says there's an omega-6 essential fatty acid that comes from fats that is essential by a definition. You can't make it in your body, but you have to have it to live and be healthy. So that has to be brought in from outside. And if you don't get enough, your health deteriorates. And if you don't get enough long enough, you die. But if you bring enough of it back into your diet before you die, then all the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed because life knows how to make a body work if we take responsibility only here at our mouth to make sure that all of the essential building blocks, there are 42 of those, minerals, vitamins, amino acids, fatty acids, we got to make sure that optimum amounts of those building blocks land in our body so that life can use them to do the job, right? And that's when, and once we've swallowed, our job's done. Life takes over. We're not in charge anymore. The moment you swallow your food, then life will do what it can with whatever you gave it to work with. Now, you want optimum health, you probably got to raise your standards to eat in line with nature and your nature. And we know enough about it to be able to deliberately do that. Right?
Yeah.
And so what happened is I raised my standard for nutrition. And what happens is in 1 year, 98% of the atoms in your body, you know, we think as okay, well, I'm Udo, I'm here, this is who I am. Actually, everything in my body is just passing through. 98% of the atoms in my body today will have been removed and replaced if next year at this time you and I talk again. You'll be talking to a 98% different person. But my personality will be still conserved. I'll be still crazy like I am, right? I'll still have the silly sense of humor that I have. You know, I may not have changed very many of my beliefs, even though probably many of our beliefs could use some changing, right? But the water went through, you know, you put water in the top and you drain it out the bottom and you sweat it out through the skin. You go through 12 times your body weight in water every year if you drink how much you're supposed to be drinking water. And so literally 98% of your body is this is a major construction site. And you want to, if you want the construction to be better, you raise the standard of the input of the building blocks.
So when you think about when you had this poison and you started reviewing yourself, you almost used yourself as an experimental place where you wanted to say, okay, now.
We always do that. we always use ourselves as our own guinea pig, because whatever you put in there has a consequence, right? And you put in one thing and you try out things. Oh, I don't like the taste of that. Oh, that's really good. And then you find out, broccoli is like really good, and you try that. And how do I feel? So we're literally in an experiment all the time.
How did you
The
use
only thing is we don't always pay attention.
Most times we don't. I think a lot of people don't pay attention. But
But we can.
How did you use this method to help you in shaping your wellness brand? Because it's really phenomenal.
Well, yeah. So I got to go back to the essential fatty acids. So that was the one thing I learned. Omega-6 is essential, and omega-3 is essential by the definition. You got to have it. You can't make it. You got to get it from outside. And then, then there was another study, and that said omega-6, which is essential for health, gives you cancer and kills you. And I'm going, what? It's essential for my health, and then when I eat it, it gives me cancer and kills me? That's like, that doesn't work. And it was that contradiction. It drove me crazy. So there must be a reason why you can have completely different stories about the same molecule, and found out how sensitive oils are. They're the most sensitive of our nutrients to damage done by light, by oxygen, and by heat. They need the most care of any of our nutrients, and we give them the least care. The industry damaged them by the processing to make them shelf stable, and then we throw them in the frying pan and turn them into smoke. And you know that when you turn oil into smoke, you're changing molecules. And when we do that, we are changing oils that the way nature makes them into molecules that never existed in nature. And life never made a program to break them down, because they never existed in nature. So why would you make a program to break down something that doesn't exist?
That's correct.
And now we're stuck with a genetic program that needs foods eaten in line with nature. Fresh, whole, raw, organic as much as possible. Mostly plants for people. And when we get out of line, then life can't do the job of building a body that works. And that's where we get our diseases from. Most of them come from the damage done by processing foods that are made by nature pretty good.
Yeah, very yummy.
and we mess up by the processing, and both by industry processing and by kitchen and restaurant use in preparing tasty foods, right?
And this is how the whole concept of your branding started.
Yeah. So then one more thing happened. 1980 was the year I got poisoned. 1981, it was established that not only omega-6 is essential by the definition I gave, but also omega-3. That was only established in 1981. And I found out 99% of the population doesn't get enough omega-3 for optimum health. Yeah. Every cell needs them. The body turns them into all kinds of other molecules that have important functions in the body. And they are a nightmare to work with, because they are 5 times more sensitive than the cooking oils to damage by light, oxygen, and heat. And so 2 things occurred to me. One is, first of all, I can't get healthy with oils that are damaged by the processing. Yes. And the second one was, if we could make oils that contain omega-3s with health in mind and bring them back into the diet of the 99% of the population that doesn't get enough for optimum health, oh my God, we could help so many people. And it was like, this is worth doing. Finally, I found something worth doing. And I did lots of jobs and blue collar jobs and had all kinds of jobs. And I was always interested in learning, but it was like not purpose of life stuff. This is purpose of life stuff. And so then it was just like, we went ballistic. I didn't have any business background, unlike you. I had lots of science background, no business background. But you know what I had?
No. In life,
enthusiasm through the roof.
that's true.
And so what happened is the enthusiasm
Yeah.
was the driving force. Oh my God, we could help so many people.
Mm.
And we worked day and night, and we went on tours, and we went on a tour in 1988 in a van without air conditioning in the US in the hottest months.
No.
Went to 85 cities in 101 days, 35 states, 17,000 miles by road. I slept on the floor of the van between the driver and the back. My driver had a bunk across the back. We had our clothes on a broomstick inside the double doors. Every 3 days, when we'd get really hot and sweaty and sticky, we'd walk into a Marriott hotel like we owned it, like military style. Nobody ever questioned us. Went up to where the showers are, and if they had a pool, we went for a swim, washed our clothes in the shower, got back in the van, and kept going. So we worked all day, drove all night. We were so inspired by this. Well, let me say, I was so inspired by this possibility that I could help. So there's something that feels so good.
Absolutely.
When you help. When you help people to better quality of life, there is something that feels so good and is so way beyond how much money you're going to make. In fact, I never thought about money at all. And the money eventually came, but I wasn't doing it because I said, oh boy, here I make a ton of money. It wasn't like that at all. It's like, oh my God, we could help so many people. And it was like, it was genuine, and people got the infection,
Yeah.
It's like you catch the disease of enthusiasm, right? And then things happen. And so then we got, in 2 years, flax oil was the second highest selling oil in the health food industry, which is where we were active. And now it's more than $1 billion a year business worldwide. That all came out of that pesticide poisoning, the realization that they're contradicting stories, trying to make sense of it, and omega-3s being essential. And then just like saying, oh, it's like I caught the bug. I caught the omega-3 bug.
It's so funny though, because a lot of people have these experiences. They'll have this poisoning happening to them or something, and they just ignore it. But from you, this gave you passion to do something even bigger than yourself. Can you just tell me that drive? Because this is exceptional.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think the reason, I'll tell you, other people who got poisoned by pesticides, a lot of them didn't do so well. They got cancer. Some of them died on the spot when they put their arm into the pesticide solution to retrieve a wrench. One guy, did that, and it's like that got absorbed so fast, boom, dead, right? I think what happened to me is I was already on the track from the war, where you start from scratch. You got to figure it all out from scratch. And you don't just take anybody's word for it. Our parents told us, question everything, because they came through the First World War, then the Bolshevik Revolution in Latvia, then the Depression, then the Second World War. And my father just had the world up to here. So he came to Canada. He lived in a house without electricity on 112 acres of bushland. We built the house ourselves. We had an outhouse that we used at 40 below, as well as 80 above, right? And we didn't have running water. We didn't have air conditioning. We built the whole thing ourselves. And his thing was, I just want to be left alone.
Yeah.
Or he'd read the newspaper and say, the world stinks, right? And so he'd become very reclusive, and his thing was always, don't trust anything, don't believe anything, find out for yourself what is actually true.
Yes.
Make your own observations, do your own tests, find out how it works, because the more you know how things work, the more able you will be not just to live and survive, but to contribute something that is true to life, to a world whose only precious treasure is life.
And that brings my next question about, you love the facts about nature and the wilderness. And this is
Yeah.
something that's so important to you. But why? Why is being in touch with this so important to you?
If you think about us, we wear fancy clothes and, we have little gadgets on, but you take off the clothes and the gadgets, we're naked babies
Yes.
that came out of nature. Nature is our mother, right? The sun is our father. Sunlight is life energy, right? So we are a part of nature, and we've tried to separate ourselves and try to have dominion over nature. We've never had dominion over nature. We die just like flies do. We hurt just like any animal does.
Yeah.
We are 100% dependent on this universe that created an earth and a sun and a natural system out of which we came and within which at best we need to live.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it always goes back to if you live in line with nature and aligned with your nature, you're going to have the most full, the most fulfilling, the most magnificent life that is possible to have. But we're not separate from nature. Our thinking sometimes separates us, but our body is still part of nature, right? I can say, oh, I'm just above nature. Hey, anything is possible. Yeah, except that doesn't mean I'm when I jump off a bridge, gravity isn't going to pull me down to the bottom really fast, right? And I can say, I don't believe in gravity. I don't believe in gravity. I don't believe in gravity, but gravity is still gravity, right?
It is still gravity.
And so we have a coconut on our head, and there's a lot of misinformation in the coconut because we can make up anything in the coconut. When it's out of line with life, it doesn't work. When it's out of line with nature, it doesn't work long term.
This is fantastic. You are known for being the first flaxseed oil that you did that. And you've written many books on this subject. Fats and oil. Fats that heal fats. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, fats that heal, fats that kill is the tone.
That is really fats that heals, fats that kill. Choosing the right fats, omega-3 cuisine.
Yeah.
What are your healthy benefits of oil? When people ask you what?
Well, okay. If you want to make it short, the omega-3s are what's mostly missing in 99% of the population, because every cell needs them and they're essential by the definition. Can't have them, can't make them, gotta have them. Go down if you don't get them, die if you don't get them long enough, but recover if you bring them back before you die, right? That's the definition. So that predicts that if every cell needs them, there are going to be a ton of things that get better when you bring in and optimize them. Right?
Yes.
And we didn't know what would happen. We just knew they were essential and every cell needs them. Yeah. And then we started seeing. And now there's quite a bit of research. And the research you can summarize in one sentence. When you increase omega-3s in your diet, provided they're not damaged and they're not toxic, you can improve virtually every major degenerative condition of our time. Wow. Now, I'm not saying cure them all. I say improve, because omega-3s will only improve the problems that come from not getting enough omega-3, right? If you don't get enough magnesium, then you're going to get a bunch of problems that come from not getting enough magnesium. Omega-3s won't fix magnesium deficiency problem, only omega-3 deficiency problem. For magnesium deficiency problems, you need to increase or optimize your intake of magnesium. Everything in nature with molecules is very specific, but they will improve everything that comes from omega-3 deficiency. Now, on the other side, the omega-6s that are the other essentials from fats, most people get enough. Actually, people get maybe more than they need. but they get them partially damaged by the processing. And in a tablespoon of a cooking oil, tablespoon, it's like that for us here in North America, that's 15 milliliters. I think yours is 20.
Yes.
Okay, 15 milliliters, 14 grams of oil. That is 1% damaged by the processing, which is about where it is. Doesn't sound like much, but in that 1 tablespoon, 1% damaged oil, you will have 60 quintillion damaged molecules from the processing before you fry it. 60 quintillion is more than 1 million damaged molecules for every one of your body's 60 trillion cells in just 1 tablespoon, small tablespoon, right? And we eat 2 to 4 tablespoons and we fry them. So you got to multiply that probably by another factor of 10. So you're getting like 10 million molecules, damaged molecules for every cell. And then what happens? They get in your body, they occupy space, but can't do the job of the natural molecule. So then they interfere with what's supposed to be going on there. And after you do that, after you eat this stuff for 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 years, and then you have some degenerative disease, you say, I don't know, I always ate good, right? Because people say that, right? But you didn't know how much damage you were doing to the oils. And there's more health problems come from damaged oils than any other part of nutrition, because they are more damaged, because they are more sensitive, because we're not giving them the care they need in order to fulfill their natural health functions in the body.
So, if people are very fussy with food, when you look at food and changing their lifestyle, changing their diet, how do you approach a person and say, this is a way to incorporate the oils in their healthy and become part of a healthy? What advice do you give to people to help them?
Okay, so let me say one thing before that. So we developed flaxseed oil.
Yes.
And then the people I worked with started saying, oh yeah, this is the best source of both essential fatty acids. Yeah. And I didn't think it was true, but I had no proof. So I did a little experiment on myself. I used flax oil as the only oil in my diet. And within 3 or 4 months, I had dry eyes, skipped heartbeats, arthritis-like pain in my finger joints, and thin, papery skin. And those are classic omega-6 deficiency symptoms. And I fixed it by eating sunflower seeds, which have a lot of omega-6 and no omega-3s. So there's a balance between omega-3 and 6 that's important. And so because of that, I'm trying to help people. They can actually become omega-6 deficient on flax oil. I decided we should make a blend that has those properly balanced, both made with health in mind, including the omega-6s. So I'm saying get off your omega-6 oils because they're damaged and get omega-3s made with health in mind. So we made a blend that has basically everything you need that's good from oils and nothing you should avoid. And so that was the second, that was the version 2.0 of the oil story, right?
That's phenomenal.
And so then the question is, how do you use it?
Yes.
Well, first of all, we created machinery that excludes light, oxygen, and heat from the process of pressing, filtering, settling, filling. We put them in glass bottles because plastic swells when you put oils in it, and plastic leaches into oil worse than into water. So we put it in a glass bottle. We put the bottle in a box so there's no light going through the glass. And then we stick the bottle in a fridge. We do that at the factory. They do it in the stores if they're following our recommendations. You do that at home. You keep it in the fridge. And you put it in any food you want to eat. Goes with fruit, goes with vegetable, goes with starch, goes with protein. But you never use it for frying. And you add it to foods. If you've heated them, you cook in water. And you add oil after the food comes off the heat. And best just before you eat it. So you add salt, pepper, and oil to your plate when you're going to eat. But go easy on the salt because we use too much salt.
Yeah.
right? But use it that way. And a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day, or 25 kilograms of body weight per day,
Uh-huh.
is a ballpark optimum. You need more in winter when your skin gets drier. You need less in summer. In winter, you burn more for energy, for heat. In summer, you need less. When your skin is soft and velvety, you know that the rest of your body has what it needs. That's how we measure it. And literally, it's compatible with anything you eat.
Okay.
And it enhances flavors of foods, and it also improves the absorption of the oil-soluble nutrients in foods, many of which have health benefits.
Can I ask you, if I don't want to put it on in my food, can I just put it on a teaspoon and just take it?
Yeah, and people, there are a lot of, especially athletes do that, these people who are rough and tough and hard to bluff, those kind of people,
Yeah.
But I don't actually recommend it, because sometimes people do that, and some people tell them to do that.
Mm.
And then they come to me and say, I don't like the taste of your oil. I say, well, how'd you take it? Well, I took it off a spoon on an empty stomach. So when's the last time you did that with the cooking oil? Oh, I never do that with cooking oils. Well, why are you doing it with mine? Right? Oil doesn't taste that good. Oil tastes like oil. It has a slippery, and some people don't like the texture.
Mm.
And it's always better in food because of the flavor enhancement and the improvement of the absorption of nutrients. So I never recommend taking it by itself, but you can if you want to. The other reason is, if you take too much oil at any one time, we say spread it out over the course of the day. If you take too much oil at any one time, you may exceed your liver's capacity for processing it. And then you start to feel heavy, tired, or nauseous. That's your liver telling you to take less at any one time. And you can build up your liver capacity. I've had mine up to 17 tablespoons, little tablespoons, 15 milliliter tablespoons. And then I was nauseous and my appetite was suppressed all day. But 17 is a lot of oil. It's almost 8 ounces of oil.
That's a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And so, so you can build up the capacity. But if you come from a no fat or a low fat diet, then your liver capacity will have deteriorated. So you need to build it up, and you can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months to build it up. But start small and just go up.
So there's this famous thing you always talk about: total sexy health.
Total sexy health, yeah.
Total sexy health. What is it? What does it mean? Total sexy health.
Well, it was my first attempt to write a book on human nature that's really about human nature.
Yes.
And health. And it wasn't my idea to call it Total Sexy Health. As one of my editors said, give it some zap, because sexy is the power word. And I can't argue with that. Sexy is the power word. But sexy isn't about sex. It's about energized. It's about present. It's about full on. It's about confident. It's about comfortable. It's about being here, right? Presence, right? And so the idea is, when you live, so I divide human nature and activity into 8 parts. One is awareness, which we talked about at the beginning, or peace. Second is life energy, which is unconditional love. Third is inspired creativity, which is where your purpose lives. Then there's the physical body. Then there's survival smarts. That's about protection and procreation. That's human nature. And then on the outside, you've got social group that affects your health, and natural environment that affects your health, and the big picture of being a terminal, living in a terminal condition called the body in an infinite universe, and being okay with how that's set up, right? Those 8, each one has a different nature and a different function, needs a different kind of attention on a regular basis, goes off in a different way, and responds to a different kind of intervention. So if you want to live the best life, you want to be fully present in all of your being and your surroundings, not lost in your head. And when you're that present in your being and your surroundings, you're going to be the sexiest you'll ever be, right?
Yes.
As in terms of presence, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you get out of line with any one of those 8 parts, some of your sexy will go away. And when you get back in line with that part, you get your sexy back. So it's a nice model. Although I feel now, having done it, it in some ways trivialized the topic.
Yes.
And that part I don't like.
Well,
because
you've explained it, and you've explained it well, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, when I explain it, people get it.
Yes.
But when I don't get to explain it, then it seems like I'm trivializing the topic.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I am redoing it, and I'm expanding it, and it's going to turn into a much bigger book, a book on nature and human nature and health, and basically the nature of, and from life's perspective, not from the doctor's perspective or the politician's perspective or the lawyer's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But when you want to answer the questions you have in life, life should be the teacher, and life is who you should ask. So it's always like, what is the answer here? What is the truth according to life? Not according to even science or convention, because there's a lot of cheating goes on in science too, right? So you have a question, and guess what? Life is your master. Your master lives within you. Anytime you got a problem, talk to your master. Don't go to someone out there who knows, who isn't in your situation. You're in your trench, and life is with you in the trench, and you can go to life to get your questions answered.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you talk about this, you talk about the oil, the importance of it. How is the physical wellness important in maintaining a mental health in all of this? How does the physical wellness play a role?
Right. Yeah. Let me say something else first. I also work with digestion, because that's the second most neglected area, and then work with greens. That's the third most neglected area. So there's much more. There are actually 15 components of physical health, and I'm not working with all of them yet, but this is all work in progress, right? But when you talk about mental health, it's very interesting. What is mental health? What is mental health?
I think it's the wellness of our mind.
How about if you got nothing going on in your head?
Then you're fine.
Yeah, or at least you have no thoughts going on in your cortex.
Then you have
you don't have any belief systems that are out of line with nature. Or you don't have expectations that are unrealistic. Would that be helpful?
That's helpful.
Okay, so then if you want to deal with mental issues, whether it's anxiety or depression or whatever, anxiety, depression, I think, are the two big ones these days. Well, the energy that keeps you alive cannot get depressed, cannot become anxious, is completely whole, cannot get sick, never dies. And that energy lives right next to your anxiety. So that means you can look at your anxiety anytime you want, whatever the thoughts are that are driving you nuts. And anytime you're tired of it, work on getting good at focusing on that in you that's not affected, right? You go beyond that, the peace in you is not affected by anything going on in your body, not affected by anything going on in your mind, your emotions, your social circles, and your natural environment. Peace is peace. Indestructible, formless. That's right. That you're filled with that peace. So instead of focusing on the thoughts that are about everything, what if, oh my God, what if, right? I know anxiety. I've had it. I this is not news to me, right? And I'm experienced, right?
Yeah.
But I have learned, and I've been practicing now for almost 50 years,
Wow.
to move my awareness, to take time every day to move my awareness to that quiet place, to that loving place, to that wholeness, to that oneness, to that beauty, to that joy, to that gratitude that live right next to the anxiety. And we basically have a choice, except if we haven't learned how to do the practice, then it doesn't seem like we have a choice because we go to the anxiety so quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Right? But I'm telling you, anybody who's got any, schizophrenics, there's genetic and there's all kinds of stuff supposedly there, right? Within every person who is schizophrenic is a piece that is not affected by schizophrenia. Inside of everyone who has sickle cell anemia is a piece that is not affected by sickle cell anemia. That's why you can find joy,
yes,
even when you have sickle cell anemia.
Absolutely.
Right?
I love that.
And so, but we tend to always look at the problem and ignore what's whole. And that's a stupid habit that people have developed and have been doing it for 200,000 years. And it's about time we got smart and did what the masters told us to do, which is find your peace, ask your questions of life, let the master inside of you instruct you on how to feel and what to do.
This is truly phenomenal. I can't believe what you're saying, because this just makes total sense, and it's something we all miss. My final question to you is that I'm looking at you. You're 80 years old. I'm not kidding you. You look many, many, many years younger.
Well, maybe your eyesight's failing.
I could definitely tell you I'm wearing best contacts right now.
Here, you want to borrow my glasses?
And you're filled with so much energy, you're filled with so much passion and so much joy in you. And I can see that inner peace within yourself. Tell the world, how have you found it in you to find your energy, to find your passion for all the projects you've got going on? And what next? What's coming up next for you?
Oh boy. So a part of the story I didn't tell you, before I got poisoned by pesticides and before I started doing my practice, one day when I was in my 20s, I was thinking, and I tend to do that. It's a bad habit I have. So I was thinking, nobody remembers my grandfather. He died before I was born, so I never knew him. He hasn't been dead for 50 years. I don't even remember his name, and nobody ever talks about him. But there's this guy, Jesus, because I come from a Christian culture, right?
I do.
But there's this guy, Jesus, and 2,000 years later, they're still talking about this guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what's the difference between my grandfather and this guy? And so I decided to find out, because I think it's an interesting question, right? Yeah. And so I got a copy of the red letter edition, where everything Jesus says was written in red and everything else is written in black ink, because I just wanted to know. I wanted to get closer to what it was about him. And so then I read John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And the hair goes up on the back of my head every time I say it, right now even, right? And then it goes on and says, and Word became flesh and dwelt amongst us, full of grace and truth.
Yes.
My hair goes up on the back of my head. This is poetry. What was John experiencing that inspired him to that poetry, to that expression? I want to know what John experienced. Nobody said I couldn't. So it's a reasonable question to ask, I think. Then a couple of weeks later, I said, wait a minute. I got the red letter edition. Forget John. I want to know what Jesus experienced that inspired him to do what he did. Nobody said you couldn't. there must have been something going on there.
Mm.
You know, how am I going to know even the meaning of it if I don't have the experience? And so then I started putting little things to the test and had some amazing experiences, like magical experiences. And then I got in with a group of people who called themselves the Jesus People's Army, who had come to Vancouver up the coast from California. And they called themselves Army, so that should have been a warning to me, but I missed that cue. And they had a coffee house. They invited people to go there. I said, I'm going to go and hang out with these people. They're trying to find out what I'm trying to find out. They have experiences. I have experiences. We're going to share experiences. Everybody else will walk away enriched. So I went to their coffee house, sat down at a table, and this guy swooped down in the chair beside me. And I just looked him in the eyes and I said, it must be possible to see God and live. Because we were told when I was a kid, if you see God, you die. And it's like, where is that fair? You know, this is supposed to be your father. He loves you unconditionally, and you get too close to him and he fries you. It's like, what? So I said that. I didn't introduce myself, and I didn't, no small talk, no weather. How's the weather? And this guy obviously was in a very different mindset. He jumped out of his chair and he went ballistic, and he said, "You're from the devil. You're from the Antichrist. Get out." So I'm out in the darkness on a sidewalk, and now I'm really freaked out, totally desperate, because it's like, well, I haven't seen God, and maybe I shouldn't have said something like that. I don't know, where's the limit of questions you're allowed to ask. Yeah. It's like, and so what I used to do when I got confused, I was so confused, and I so wanted to know. I went to in nature, spent a weekend on a beach in nature, and somebody had draped the logs with plastic, so there was a little dwelling there, on the west coast of Vancouver Island. And I got into this little dwelling, went to sleep for the night, and in the middle of the night, I woke bolt upright from dead asleep. And there was a being made of light, standing on a cloud of light. Couldn't tell if it was male or female. No sign of who it was. No words. I don't even know if it was inside or outside now. And embodied a message. And didn't say the message, just embodied it, which is what I wanted. That was my thing. I wanted to know what, right? And the message I could put word to. And the message, 9 words. I am come not to judge, but to love. I am come not to judge, but to love. I don't know if there's a better summary of the message of the Master. Now, then I started saying, well, who was that? Was that Jesus, or was that my spirit, or was that life, or who was that? And it turns out that they're all the same. That energy, that unconditional love for the body is the message of life to your body. And the message of the Master to humanity is the same message. I am come not to judge, but to love. And the moment like that came to me, my confusion was gone. My desperation was gone. I felt completely okay. And I have never had a question ever since what the message of the Master was. And for me, I would say that experience reset my life. And fundamentally, that's the message I want to embody. And that's the message I want to bring to the world. I don't need to be a master. I don't need to have a title. I don't need a religion named after me. I'm talking about really grounded stuff. Human beings experiencing the unconditional love that life has for them within, and then living their life as an expression of that love, as an expression of that peace.
That is fabulous.
So that was the that was the key moment. And then the poisoning happened after that. And it's because I already had a foundation. I was able to go back to the foundation. I had been doing my practice for 8 years by that time. So I had something to go back to that was not affected by the poisoning. Just like something is not affected by whatever stuff has gone on, traumas and dramas and circumstances. Something in us was never affected by it.
Yeah.
What an incredible invention it is by nature, by life, by God, to put that inside of every human being, at least as the potential to have access to.
This is such a beautiful way. I didn't know this, and this is a kind message you've left us. And I'm sure so many people will embody this message you've left us with.
So my big project,
Yes.
I call it my $88 trillion project,
Yes.
which is to bring that message and the capability of going there and living from that to 8 billion people. Now, how am I going to do that? I have the foggiest idea.
Well, you started already.
Yeah.
Started massively already, and I think you'll be we'll be lying here if we say we haven't been impacted by your work, because it's really a phenomenal thing you're doing. And
right.
I look at your page and I'm so inspired by it.
And I think that we should spend a third of the annual world budget every 200,000 years for a reset, because we're due a reset, because we're in the process of destroying everything.
Yes.
And the reason we're destroying it is because we're disconnected from here. We are discontent, and discontent spreads discontent. And until we find the connection, refine the connection, we will be destroying things and creating discontent. So we're the problem here. It's not like we don't need to fix the environment. We need to reconnect to ourselves.
Well, the COVID taught us. The COVID taught us. It was so beautiful when everyone was locked in, when people were reconnecting to themselves. You go outside, nature was beautiful, and it really did.
Yeah. It got cleaner.
Yeah.
It got cleaner. The air got cleaner. The water got cleaner. So when people say, what should we do for the environment? Do less, except plant trees.
Yes.
Right? Do less. Manage water better. Where there's too much water, take it to where there's too little. Manage it better, build up the water supply again. Those are the only two things we need to do. There's lots of other things to do, but they'll fall away. When I'm content, I don't want to destroy stuff. I don't want to beat people up. I don't want to steal their money. I don't want to find ways to outsmart them. I don't need that. I'm already the richest person I know.
Yes, exactly. Once you're content, once you're at peace with yourself.
Yeah, and when you discover how magnificent life is, you become the richest person you know. Yes. 8 billion people could be the richest person they know.
Exactly.
Right?
Well, I'm so glad. This conversation has meant a lot to me, and I really hope that we could catch up again, because I would love to know more about the tactics you use to get these methods out. Because you have explained a lot to me, and I would love to learn more about it. I'm really honored to share this afternoon from where you are, evening from where I am with you, and I really do wish you all the best, and hopefully we could catch up again soon.
All right, thank you. I'd love to continue this conversation.
Absolutely, I would have to do it. Thank you so much.